Hey, bro.
Hey man, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm enjoying the tail end of summer here in Seattle. So
Tail end. And of course, the Seahawks are 1-0, so our hopes are
we
alive.
are alive and well.
Woohoo. All right, let's jump in, man. You ready for a great podcast topic?
I am
A great topic, which is podcasts. Sorry.
perfect.
All
Perfect.
right, let me get this clear. We are going to talk about our top podcasts that we each love in this conversation. So that's what we thought we'd kick around. If these are new to you, of course, then great. That's the point. We'd like to expose you to some incredible thought leaders who are really speaking into our own lives and helping us understand how to do marketing better and leadership better. And we hope that you really benefit from this. So we each pick our top three podcasts. You want to go first? Go ahead, man. Do one, and then I'll do one. So go
All
for
right.
it.
So one that I've listened to or started to listen to based on your recommendation was Masters of Scale, Mr. Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Just really solid entrepreneur, high level strategic thinking, entrepreneurship from somebody who's done it at a very high level for a long time.
yeah,
Just good, solid stuff.
yeah. I love that one, man. I literally listened to the whole first season, and then I was waiting forever for the second season, and then have listened to all those. They're great. He basically does a lot of Silicon Valley type startup founder interviews. But you can, man, those guys are so smart. I mean, you
I
get
know.
so many like nuggets out of it. And then, okay, just a little extra bonus on this one. If you like Masters of Scale podcast, then you should definitely get Blitz Scaling, his most recent book
Mhm.
about the hyper growth strategies that Silicon Valley companies use. The first half of it was boring to me, but the back half was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, really, I want to listen to the whole back half of it again. So if you get into it and you get bored by it, just push through because that book has actually got some really smart, super current, marketing tips from Silicon Valley. So anyway,
Very cool. Very good
awesome.
stuff. All right, what's yours?
Okay, so I've totally dug into this one that is new to me, and I've just binged on it, man. I did a 25 hours of driving in the last week, and I listened to so many episodes of this podcast. It's Dan Sullivan and Joe Polish. It's called 10X Talk.
Nice.
And I had known about Dan Sullivan. If you're not familiar, he's basically the original kind of like business coach. He's been in the business of coaching for like 30 years. A lot of the highest caliber online marketers will refer to him as their business coach. And so he runs a company called Strategic Coach. And the podcast they do is just them. They don't do interviews. So they just back and forth. The only time, rarely they'll have somebody else on. And they just talk strategies, techniques, principles, a lot of principles-based stuff. It's not tactics so much, like fidgets for marketing, but it's more like the big level principles and strategy. And Joe Polish is sort of the understudy, and Dan Sullivan's sort of the guru type mentor. And it's a really enjoyable experience. And every one of them, they unpack something that, at least for me, I've been like, wow, I haven't heard that before.
That's
I really
cool.
liked it. Yeah, love it. Okay, what else you got? What's yours?
That's cool. Next one on my list, it's this little known author, Mr. Tim Ferriss. You
Yeah.
probably already listened to him if you were into podcasts because his podcast gets a ton of downloads. But I like it. He's does a long form interview.
Mm-hmm.
He really goes into depth and he asks pretty good questions. And Tim Ferriss is pretty good at like
Yeah.
extracting information and really getting to the core of issues, I feel like. And so
Yeah.
I've learned to appreciate that from him and try to emulate that in sort of my thinking about topics and strategy. And, if I'm coming up, like how do I think
Mm-hmm.
deeper about a topic or ask better questions?
Are you comfortable with the 2 hour podcast, or is it still weird to you? Because at first I was like, wow, this is insanely long. But once I started listening to him, I really liked it.
It takes me, I don't know. I don't usually sit or listen to the entire thing
Right.
in one sitting.
Yeah, it's
So
like
it's
a
kind
like
of
a
like
show, a
take it. Yeah.
serial.
You take it kind of in chunks.
Yeah.
And then depending on what I have to do.
Episode 4 of the same
Exactly.
podcast. Yeah.
Exactly. It's usually like half an hour chunk here, half an hour chunk there, and I kind of go back to it. So it takes me a while to get through his stuff just
Yeah.
based on his length of stuff, but I do appreciate it for sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, I'll go next. I, of course, love my favorite podcasters, for the last 5 years, if I had to say one, was be James Altucher. Um, I love James Altucher's style because he is such a weirdo, such a like just narcissistic kind of like Steve Martin comes to mind, where he's just like sort of awkward and but hilarious and really great at interviewing people, and he just disarms people. And I love his.
Yeah, I really love. Yeah. I've listened to him a little bit. I haven't. He's on my list, so I want to kind of get into him a little bit more. But definitely, hands down, he has the best hair of any podcaster there is. Right? Like if you've seen his picture, he's got the gray fro happening.
Yeah. I love it. So his you could go deep into. Now, I will say that he interviews a lot of comedians because he's trying to learn to be a stand-up comic. And so after about 20 of those, I was like, yeah, I think I've heard enough comedian interviews.
Yeah.
But he does a lot of business leader interviews too, and author interviews, and those are always fun. Yeah. So
definitely.
All right. What else you got?
One that I have that I've started listening to, I'm a couple episodes in, but I have found it interesting, and that is the podcast by Nathan Chan, who's the publisher of Founder Magazine. So FOUNDR, and it's his entrepreneurship podcast. And it's pretty good. He goes into, it's very similar in the same vein as some of these other guys, even like Tim Ferriss, but he focuses primarily on entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And does interview style, talking about different startups, how they, there's the war stories that they bring from the trenches. I enjoy that because there's a lot of nuggets to take away out of that. For sure.
Nathan Chan? I've never heard of this.
He's Australian, I believe.
Okay, Nathan Chan, founder. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Founder Magazine. Name of the podcast is
Founder Magazine Podcast.
Okay.
And it just has entrepreneurship podcast in there.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
But it is Founder Magazine. If you search that on iTunes or your favorite podcast listening platform,
whatever, you
should find him pretty quickly.
Awesome. Okay. All right. I got another one. My new favorite of all of them, and that I've just totally binged on, is called How I Built This with Guy Raz. It's from NPR. Nice. So the production value is super on point. And he does these terrific interviews with a lot of he chooses a lot of interesting consumer brands, like people who made like a Tofurkey, or people who make like interesting products that have kind of become super popular, and he totally spends time understanding their backstory. And it's kind of this journey of entrepreneurship, he really goes deep into their backstory and how they failed or whatever. It took him, like the founder of Tofurkey lived in a treehouse for 7 years while he was building his company because he couldn't afford a house. And so he'll go into these really fun and interesting journeys. And of course, these companies now are like, 100 million a year companies, $500 million a year companies type thing. It's a very, very fun show. How I Built This by Guy Raz. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right. You got any more, or are we done? One more?
The only other one that I sort of dip in and out of is, actually there's two, but I can kind of combine them there. So I listen to, on occasion, I'll pick up Brandon Burchard's podcast.
Okay.
On occasion, he'll just throw some stuff in there that I'll be like, oh, I want to listen to this. And usually it's pretty short. It's pretty fast paced. There's not a lot to it. And then I'll also occasionally pick up a guy by the name of Cliff Ravenscraft.
Okay.
And he used to be the podcast guy who taught people how to podcast.
Oh.
But what was interesting about his show in sort of the last couple of years is he's made this pivot. So he taught Pat Flynn and trained all these guys on podcasting when back in the day. And he was making all his money doing that. And now he's pivoting and he's doing more professional or personal development and self-help, and kind of launching into that. And he launched his own Free to Dream conference. And it was really interesting. The reason I was listening to it was his sort of the pivot process that he went through, where he basically was walking away from a multi-six-figure business to do something that he was really super passionate about. And it was an interesting dialogue. So I was just kind of listening and picking up some of the stuff that he was dropping. His vision is to sort of be like the Christian Tony Robbins, is what his kind of heart dream is. And so he's kind of walking through that.
Walk on fire in Jesus' name.
Yes, yes.
All right, that's very cool. All right, okay, so that's a pretty good list, man. So I'm going to check out some of the new ones that you've mentioned that I haven't, and then you can check out some of the ones that I have. And if you are listening to this anywhere online in our Facebook groups or on our website, feel free to leave a comment. Let us know what podcasts you totally geek out over, and we would really appreciate it. I'm a podcast junkie, and so I need to hear what people are into these days. So, of course, we have resources on winningonshopify.com. Check us out there. We've got Inner Circle and also one-on-one coaching opportunities available. And we also have other resources as well. So if you're interested in learning more, going deeper on these topics, feel free to check it out there, winningonshopify.com. And we'll go from there. All right, dude. Good times, good times.
I got more content to consume.
All right. No doubt. See ya.
All right. Bye.